AB-620, Knowledge Sources in Copilot Studio, Grounding, Search, and Generative Answers. In the last lesson, we focused on actions and tools. A tool is what the agent uses when it needs to do work. Create a ticket, call an API, update a row, start a flow, or retrieve a specific record from a system. This lesson is the matching decision on the other side. Sometimes the agent does not need to perform an action. It needs to answer from trusted content. It needs to read a policy, search a knowledge base, summarize a procedure, or ground a response in an enterprise document set. That is the knowledge source problem. For AB-620, keep this split in your head. Tools act, knowledge answers. A tool uses inputs and returns outputs. A knowledge source gives the agent content to ground an answer. Topics control the conversation. Variables carry values. Knowledge supplies evidence. There are three big knowledge patterns to recognize. First, an index-based pattern, where content is ingested into an index and retrieved through semantic search. In Copilot Studio, Copilot connectors use this pattern through Microsoft Graph. Second, a real-time connector pattern, where the agent queries live data through a Power Platform connector at the moment the answer is needed. Third, a custom vector index pattern, where the organization already maintains an Azure AI Search index and Copilot Studio connects directly to it. Let's use one scenario for the whole video. Woodgrove Bank is building a branch staff support agent. Branch employees ask three different kinds of questions. 1. What is the procedure for escalating a suspicious login? 2. What is the current balance or ticket status right now? 3. What does the compliance document vault say about transaction monitoring thresholds? Those questions sound similar because they are all questions, but they do not need the same knowledge source. The suspicious login procedure is stable reference content. It is a great fit for an indexed, citable knowledge source. The current balance is live transactional data. It should not be copied into an index that may lag behind the source. The compliance vault is a specialized document collection that the bank already indexes and tunes in Azure AI Search. Start with Copilot connectors. A Copilot connector, formerly Microsoft Graph connector, ingests external content into Microsoft Graph. After the content is indexed, it becomes searchable through Copilot Studio agents, Microsoft 365 Copilot, and Microsoft Search. This is the pattern for knowledge bases, documentation, wikis, ticket archives, project management content, and other reference material that changes slowly enough for indexing to make sense. The strength of this pattern is search and citation. When a branch employee asks about suspicious login escalation, the agent can retrieve the relevant procedure article and include a citation. The learner should notice that the answer is not just fluent. It is grounded in a source item the user can verify. There is one important prerequisite. Copilot connectors are configured by a tenant administrator in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. The maker does not create the connector from scratch inside an individual topic. The maker selects a connector the admin has already configured, then adds it as knowledge in Copilot Studio. If the connector is not visible, the maker may need to select Advanced or contact the administrator. When you add the connector, the name and description matter. The description tells the agent what the source contains and when to use it. A vague description like company documents is weak. A better description says, Woodgrove Bank IT knowledge base, including IT procedures, escalation guides, and service resolution articles. That gives the agent matching language for routing procedure questions to the right source. Now compare that to real-time connector knowledge. A real-time knowledge source uses a Power Platform connector to call the source system when the user asks a question. The source data is not copied into Microsoft Graph. Copilot Studio indexes metadata, such as table names and column names, so the agent understands what it can ask for. The actual data retrieval happens at runtime. That makes real-time connector knowledge a strong fit for current balances, live inventory, ticket statuses, order records, and other information that changes frequently. If the scenario says the answer must reflect the current state of a record, or if policy prevents copying sensitive records into Microsoft 365, think real-time connector knowledge. But it has trade-offs. Real-time connector knowledge is preview in the source material. It depends on connector availability, target API latency, data loss prevention policies, and licensing for premium connectors. It also does not provide inherent document-level citations the way indexed content does, because there is no indexed document to cite. It is live and source resident, but less naturally citable. The third pattern is Azure AI Search. Use Azure AI Search when the organization already maintains a vector index, often for a specialized document collection. The bank's compliance vault is a good example. The IT team controls the indexing pipeline, chunking, embedding model, relevance tuning, and document access. Copilot Studio connects to that prepared index as a knowledge source. There is a critical setup rule. Always add Azure AI Search through the Create New Connection dialog. Do not manually type an endpoint URL and API key directly into the knowledge source form. The source material warns that manual entry can create a faulty environment-level connection that blocks agents in the environment from adding Azure AI Search later. The safe pattern is choose Azure AI Search, create a new connection, choose the authentication type, enter the required details, then add the index. For authentication, the source scenario recommends Microsoft Entra ID integrated when it fits the organization. It uses the signed-in user's identity instead of a stored key, avoids key rotation overhead, and aligns with identity governance. Other options exist, such as access key, certificate authentication, and service principal. But the exam clue is to choose the authentication method that matches the governance model. Azure AI Search can also provide citations, but only if the index includes a field that points to the original document URL. Copilot Studio checks for metadata stored path first. If that field is not present, it looks for another field containing a complete URL. If citations point to restricted internal pages, the user still needs permission to open those pages. Now, place the Generative Answers node in the picture. The Generative Answers node is the mechanism for knowledge retrieval inside a topic. It searches configured knowledge sources and generates a grounded response. That means it answers the question, what does our content say about this? Do not confuse that with a custom prompt. A custom prompt is for a reasoning task. Classify this document, extract entities, evaluate a response, or transform information according to instructions. A Generative Answers node is for grounded synthesis from selected sources. Placement matters. Conversational boosting happens at the agent level when no topic matches. A Generative Answers node sits inside a known topic flow, exactly where you want knowledge retrieval to happen. If the topic has already confirmed that the user is asking about premium products, you can place a Generative Answers node after that condition and scope it to the premium product SharePoint site. Node-level sources also have priority. If a Generative Answers node has its own data sources configured, those sources take priority for that node. Agent-level sources act as a fallback only when the node has no sources of its own. This gives the maker precise control. A premium client topic can use only premium product content even if the broader agent knows about every product tier. There is also a no answer behavior to design for. If no relevant content is found, the Generative Answers node returns a no information found response unless AI general knowledge is explicitly included as a source. For exam scenarios, that is a clue. If the organization needs grounded answers only, do not silently let the model fill gaps from general knowledge. Add a condition after the node and route no answer cases to a fallback message, handoff, or escalation path. Sometimes the source does not fit SharePoint, uploaded documents, or a normal connector. That is where custom data can feed a generative answers node. Custom data must be provided as a PowerFX table with 3 columns: content, content location, and title. Content is required. Content location is an optional citation URL. Title is an optional display label. The important exam detail is the limit. Only the first 3 records in the table are used to generate the response. If an HTTP request or flow returns more results, the extra records are ignored. So the retrieval step must filter and rank before it hands data to the node. Do not dump hundreds of records into custom data and hope the node chooses the right ones. A simple pattern is use an HTTP request node upstream, call the data API with the user's question, reshape the JSON into the required table, store that table in a topic variable, then pass that variable into the generative answers node's custom data field. If the logic is more complex, such as pagination, multiple sources, or business rules, a Power Automate flow may be easier to maintain. Finally, custom instructions shape how the answer is presented. They do not choose the knowledge source. They tell the AI how to write the grounded answer once the source content is available. Think tone, format, and scope. Tone controls how the answer sounds. Format controls whether the answer uses bullets, numbered steps, short paragraphs, or another structure. Scope controls the boundary. In regulated scenarios, scope is crucial. Tell the agent not to speculate beyond the provided knowledge sources, and to say the information is not available when the source does not contain an answer. Good custom instructions are observable. Be helpful and professional is vague. Respond in a formal, professional tone, use bullet points for multiple items, and do not infer beyond the provided sources is specific. You can test whether the output followed each instruction. Now, put the decision tree together. If the scenario says answer from stable, policies, procedures, documentation, or knowledge base articles, think index knowledge and citations. If it says current status, live balance, current inventory, or data that cannot be copied, think real-time connector knowledge. If it says the organization maintains its own vector index, think Azure AI Search. If it says use exactly this knowledge source inside a known topic step, think Generative Answers node. If it says custom API results must be synthesized into an answer, think custom data table with content, content location, and title. And keep the boundary with tools clear. If the agent must create a ticket, update a record, call an API for an action, or start a workflow, that is the action tool side. If the agent must answer from content, retrieve evidence, cite a policy, or summarize a document collection, that is the knowledge side. For AB-620, listen for these cues: knowledge source, grounded answer, citation, Microsoft Graph, Copilot connector, real-time connector, live data, Azure AI Search, vector index, semantic ranker, generative answers node, custom data, content location, no information found, and custom instructions. The final rule is simple. Knowledge sources ground what the agent says. Tools perform what the agent does. Topics decide when the step happens. Variables carry the values. If you can separate those 4 jobs, most Copilot Studio design questions become much easier to reason through.